man. Welcome to the. So I just press record. Um, so I guess I'm already rolling, and if we gotta edit and clean some stuff up, that's all right.
It's all good because sometimes it's nice to come into it when like you're kind of already chopping up. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and start this thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's always good. All right, man. Well, I guess welcome to the coldest side of the pillow. Glad to have you. I got my good friend Charles Coates here, or as I like to say, Charles the Voice. It's been a while. I guess I was actually just thinking about this the other day, and I still remember when we first moved into the neighborhood. And when we first moved into the neighborhood, I remember, because I've learned of a new phrase called an ambivert. Have you ever heard of an ambivert before? There's
An
introvert, there's
ambivert.
extrovert. Yeah, ambivert.
No, I never heard of that before.
Yeah, so I am an ambivert, which is kind of like the person who can be either or. You're kind of like ambidextrous, right? It's pretty much the
Oh,
same
okay.
thing, but it's an
Okay.
ambivert. And I remember moving into the neighborhood, and everybody was outside. Remember when we used to sit outside in the summers?
Yeah.
And but believe it or not, man, it's been 5 years. We've been in this daggone neighborhood 5 years, known you 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think I've known you longer than I've known a lot of other people that I've would have otherwise known when I first moved to Texas. So it's been um, pretty incredible journey, I guess, learning who you are and so on. But excited to have you join. You're my first person to interview and do stuff with here
Right
on
on.
the coldest side of the pillow. So wanted to spend a little bit of time, get to know you a little bit, let the audience hear and know, oh, he's on the video. He's on the video. Nice. Get to know you a little bit, and want to hear your background. And we'll see if I can figure out how to upload the video. I don't have myself on video, but that's okay.
Why not?
We'll
Let me see you, man.
upload you, man. I'm rough today, dude.
Hey, it's
I'm
okay.
rough, man. Let me
People are
see
just
what.
listening. We like we say in the industry, we have a face for radio. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see if I'll turn my camera on. There we
oh
go.
Lord, yeah,
Got the
turn it off.
virtual
Turn it off.
background, man. Got the
Turn it off.
virtual
Turn it
background.
off.
So so I see you're sitting in the booth. I guess tell everybody a little bit about yourself. As I mentioned that you're standing in a booth. You're Charles the Voice. I guess what I want to know is how you got here, why you are known as a Charles the Voice, and then I guess and then we'll shoot the can on couple other random things. I was reading some funny headlines that I think you'll enjoy today. So,
All
but
right.
anyway,
Yeah.
Charles the Voice, welcome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, dude, I remember before you guys moved in, I was like, because our home brand, the brand of our home that we bought, they kind of have that, like you could drive into a neighborhood and be like, oh, that's a, XYZ home. Oh, that's an XYZ home. And they were building this house on the corner. And I was like, who the hell is this? Like, because your house looks so different than everybody else's, right?
It does.
I was like, this Lord of the Rings, like what? Harry Potter, like something out of Switzerland or something. And I was like, who is this like eclectic ass person moving in into the neighborhood? Yeah. And then we saw you guys and I was like, man, that's a whole bunch of kids. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, and then we just started chopping it up, dude. And
yeah, and it's funny. It was considered a spec home. We didn't plan or build it. And I'll give you the background of how we ended up over here. So when I moved to Texas, we were going to rent, and then in the same neighborhood, they had homes for sale. And I just said, you know what, we might as well just buy a house. It was, we purchased our first home, and randomly our realtor, the older guy, he's probably Mike Starita with Steramco Homes. Mike is probably he was probably almost 80. And, he's been out here in Texas, been a realtor for like 50, 60 years. And, he reached out to us and he said, hey, me and my wife have this massive 4,000 square foot home. Everybody's gone. Like they've been gone. Even the grandchildren are grown up. We want to buy your house. And my last house was only like 1,700 square feet. So we weren't even looking to move. And at that point, we were pregnant with our fifth kid. And it sounds normal to me, right? Pregnant with our fifth kid, isn't
I
that?
know.
But we were at a point where we definitely needed to upgrade. So we said, okay, he wrote us in an offer, and we're like, wow, man, that's pretty significant. So I guess we will say yes, we'll take that offer. Let's go start looking for a home.
Mhm.
And so we were looking. This house actually popped up on the MLS site that he sent us, and it actually went away like a couple hours later. Somebody was supposed to move into it, but anyway, we went and looked at some houses on a Saturday, and as we were driving home because we didn't like any of them that we had looked at,
Mhm.
the this house popped up again. We said, "Hey, let's drive over there and just go see it." And we
so
drove over here.
y'all hadn't even looked at it yet.
No, we came, went to the lease to the office, to the sales office, and said, "Hey, can we go see it?" What was his name? Was it Sakuni? It was Sakuni. Remember Sakuni?
Yeah, and Jeff,
So Sakuni's like, "Yeah, it's open. Go ahead and go over there." And we went over here, looked at it, said the price was perfect. Obviously, it was during COVID, so interest rates and everything were great. And then I would say that's the quickest decision my wife has ever made, a decision on something. She's like, "Do it." And I said, "Okay."
Really?
Sign
For
the
like
contract.
especially for such a big purchase, right?
Yeah. It's, I mean, quick. She didn't even question it. So we ended up signing. We had to come back because Jeff was actually spending time with another family. So he's like, "Come back tomorrow on Sunday." And we came over, signed the contract, and that was all she wrote. And we just ended up in the neighborhood 2 or 3 months later.
Yep. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I don't know, just getting to like when we first moved in the neighborhood, it was like I say it still has that feeling, but like when I moved in, I was like, man, like all the neighbors are awesome. And like this is like where if I have kids, like I want my kids to play in this neighborhood. Like this is a great neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's interesting now that everyone, like, I still call us OG Street because sure, there's a couple people who have their houses on the market now, but OG Street, man, there's no one else has really moved. All the other streets near us, everybody's moved away, sold their homes, and we still have the OGs back here 5 years later, with the exception of two others looking to leave. So it's I just said, don't ruin our comps. Don't or sell very low so you can change the comps and our property taxes get to go down.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy that you say like we're the OG Street because we've been here for 5 years. Could you imagine like our parents or older generations like in the 50s, like, bro, when they bought a house, they were there forever.
30, 40 years.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like they all know each other for like the last 30 years, 40 years. But it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sad in a way if you think about it. It's like, oh yeah, this is the OG end of the neighborhood because we've been here for 5 years.
5 years, it's nothing, man. Most people are, and I think about it. Most people, and I'm going to look that up. I'm going to see how long people
like average residents
usually live in their homes. Yeah.
But I think you have to do it average over a certain price because I think once you hit certain price tiers, like, you know what I mean? Like the investment value that they're putting in that house or, also probably depends on the neighborhood or how much increase the value of that, let's say county or that, part of town is going. Because I mean, think about it, like maybe you used to live in, Keller or something. And, over 3 years, your property values, quadrupled. Then it's like, oh snap, I can make some money. And so, they're going to sell them.
Yeah. But there's actually a phrase that exists. And so I just looked it up, ChatGPT, the wonderful world of technology. It says the approximate homeowner remains 11.8 years, and it's up 6.5 years since 2005. And it's influenced by factors such as an aging population and low mortgage rates in the previous years. So that's probably why that's increased. But I recently heard couple months ago, maybe, there's a concept called golden handcuffs. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's these people who purchased homes in 2020, 2021, and probably the beginning of 2022. those COVID homes that got those great interest rates, but
Yep.
they've kind of grown with their families, and now they need to upgrade, but they're
They
kind of
can't.
trapped because
Yep.
one, they need to go up. Housing values are up in Texas. We know that. And then number two is they have this 2% interest rate, two and a half
Yep.
percent interest
Yep.
rate. And it's like golden handcuffs.
Yeah, you can't get rid of that, man.
No, no.
I mean,
well, and
even my house, like it was, this was the base model at $299,
yeah.
right? And like with my upgrades, it was like $310 or something. And I'm getting stuff from whatever, like every week it's like, oh, you have like $150,000 equity, you can get this loan and blah blah blah. So I could turn around and sell this house for $450 maybe,
Yeah.
if I was lucky. But with the money that I made back after I paid off my mortgage, like even with a gigantic down payment, like I'm not going to get more house than I'm in now.
Mm-mm.
There's no way. And my monthly mortgage with everything included is going to be way higher also. So literally golden handcuffs. Luckily, I'm in a home and neighborhood that I really love, that I have no plans on moving out. But yeah, it's that golden handcuff situation.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like my house was 392, and although my house was unique, somebody did build the model. Doesn't look the same because it's not on a corner lot like my house.
Mm-hmm.
But they had that thing when they first sold it. I can't remember what they sold it for, but they had it priced at 658, and I was like, man, I can make almost 250 grand on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wouldn't. And I remember I had first moved into this house when I had just gotten promoted at Kroger. So I think I was living here for 2 or 3 months, and I was going to have to relocate to Cincinnati. And even kind of considering a couple other situations that were probably coming with my current job, I was being asked, hey, would you relocate? And I was like, East Coast? You can't even find a house this big on the East Coast, for sake of saying that I have a large family.
Mm-hmm.
And, not only looking for the size that would, fit and accommodate my family, but in addition, the challenge of I have a 2.5% interest rate. Like,
yeah,
I have pretty good equity in this thing today. Sure, I could sell it, but then if I don't roll it directly into another house, I'm gonna have to pay a whole bunch of capital gains. It's terrible, but it kind of makes me think about what's going on the kind of headlines today of, there's this kind of looming recession coming by way of all the tariffs and stuff. Liberation Day was yesterday on April 2nd. And it would almost cost us another pandemic, a recession, something like that would allow those kind of handcuffs for a lot of people to be taken off. But nonetheless, with all the tariffs and everything, we know that it's going to get passed on to the consumers. In some degree, we'll probably see some benefits come from it by forcing, some of those companies to move operations to the United States. But it's I think that's what it will take, but who knows, and maybe something like that will kind of level the market out. I think the market's down today for a second day in a row. So it's going to be pretty interesting as we kind of move forward.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's like, I don't know, a wound that heals, right? Like you get a surgery because you need to do something to fix this issue, or it's just going to, get worse and worse and worse, or it's that issue is going to, take over a section of your body. Let's say it's something in your leg. And so you got to do the surgery. There's some pain in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But once it heals up, you're like, dang, like I'm glad
I feel good.
That. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? So I hope it's like that, because like, so the tariff thing, I don't know, dude. Like, okay, so I lived in China, right?
Yep.
And if you wanted to buy a $100,000 Mercedes, it's going to cost you $200,000 over there, right? Because they have to make money too. So it's like the tariff that they charged coming in was ridiculous. But the people that had money, the people that wanted that thing, it's something popular, it's something that, gives them status or whatever, they're going to pay the money to buy it because they have the money. And it was kind of interesting to me because it's like, I saw that list, right? And it was like, what we're charging or what we're putting tariffs on compared to what they, these countries were putting on us. And I thought about it, dude. before that, like we'd have no tariffs on them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so here's how I thought about it. Okay, I have a house, right? Or I have a supermarket. Let's say I own a grocery store that's like the size of Kroger. And hey, you guys and there's all these little supermarkets around me, right? But they want to sell some stuff in my supermarket because the people that go to my supermarket buy a lot from my supermarket, right? So they want to, they want to give their stuff to us, but we also want to put our products in their supermarkets. But when I go over to supermarket A and I say, hey, we want to put some of our stuff in here to sell, then they're like, okay, well, we're going to charge you 50% markup, tariff on top for everything that you sell here, right? But
Yeah.
then again, it's like, as the owner of the company, not knowing what the manager's doing, I guess, at our supermarket, they're just like, yeah, you guys can put whatever you want, doesn't like whatever you want, bring it all in. We'll just pack it all in, shove everything into corners, and we just got this crazy cake game going on in here, and we don't make any money, and we don't charge anything for that. So it's
Yeah.
like, what kind of, that's kind of crazy. We should be
But
like,
it's
dude, you want to sell in our store? Okay, well, you gotta pay a little bit for the shelf space, man.
Yeah, and it's probably because there's been so many. I mean, there's been such a heavy reliance on taxation, and whether it's by state, whether it's by municipality, city, county, or even federal, we kind of supplement ourselves as a country to ultimately supplement others as well. Right. And I think that's probably, it's like, how do we give more back? I was reading some stats earlier today that says it's going to cost every American roughly an increase of about roughly 21, 2,200 bucks a year. The tariffs themselves will. And I'm like, man, whatever. I pay 2,000 a month, $2,000 a month in health insurance. I don't have if I'm not saying I'm rich, right? But if something that will help us long term, there probably will. Well, there's already layoffs. I don't know if you've seen that. There's already been, there's been a stream of layoffs across the country, regardless of the industry and so on. But because of the tariffs, some of these manufacturers have already started laying people off. In I think both Canada and Mexico with some of the US based car manufacturers. But I mean, hey, look, AI is coming in. Yesterday there was a new article that got launched about manufacturing, and the stats had said there's 71% of like the leading manufacturing CEOs. They all participated in a survey, and 71% of them agree that AI is going to increase the productivity. There's going to be this kind of boom in manufacturing productivity, regardless of what it is. So I think maybe even some of the costs get offset by that, the increase in productivity, just because we know that labor is always going to be the most, the most, the highest expense line on any P&L is always going to be labor. And I think with that, it'll be, as long as we see productivity increase. But then you can go back to, when I even did my dissertation, everything I wrote about, hey, there's this lacking workforce that exists. In a recent article that I have pending publication right now, talks about there's a lack of kind of this workforce because people just aren't going back to work. But I think the gig economy is holding that up. COVID did a big thing to people's mindsets on what they're willing to do. Even Deming, Dr. Edwards Deming, when I read about him, he had a back in early 80s, he had a study, and he has a quote that says, a willing worker will always perform. They're always going to do what they need to do. But I think that willingness of working is probably gone. It's not, it's it's not as apparent as it probably could be. So in comes technology. In comes the technology.
You know what the good thing is, though? So there was a recent kind of report put out about my industry, and you have to understand, like, putting AI aside, right?
Sure.
In any kind of turmoil, downturn, kind of crisis situation, our industry my industry, the voiceover industry, has actually grown, has spiked. The work has increased, right? Because people are trying to do damage control. They're trying to tell their clients, their bank customers, their whoever that, hey, everything's going to be okay. But they want, they need to put those advertising, things out there. Maybe they won't be, maybe the budget's going to switch a little bit from, hey, selling our new product to, hey, we're going to kind of make everybody feel okay for a second. Political season came up. That was insanity. I was doing political ads, and I am an equal opportunity offender. So I did stuff for both sides, dude, because in my mind, in my eyes, it's like, hey, they need a voice that's going to say this message. Now, granted, super far right, super far left, I saw some really bad, like horrible things people were saying about other people trying to, for their ads. And I can decline them. I don't have to audition for them. And so I would stay a little bit more in towards the middle, not exactly middle, but I would stay inside both lanes, and I wouldn't go off onto the shoulders on either side. And I did pretty well.
Nice. Well, let's talk about you. Let's talk about voiceover, because we've kind of gone in and talked about random stuff, but that's okay. That's the purpose of the coldest side of the pillow. Let's talk about Charles the Voice. So how did you get into voiceover? And then I guess let's talk about your portfolio. Like, what are you doing? I don't think you need to tell everybody everything you're doing, but it's always fun to say, like, I remember when I was working on something at work.
3 hours long because I could tell them everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, we can do 3. We can stretch 3. I remember when I was trying to get you, or at least trying to get my company to allow you to become part of that training module we were doing, and they're like, oh no. And I was like, you guys don't understand, this guy is reputable. Like, you need to understand, he's just gonna blow up and it's gonna cost you more later. So do it now and say, hey, we invested in Charles the Voice at the beginning. But yeah, let's tell me a little bit about Charles the Voice. How did you get here? What are you kind of currently doing today? And I guess give me a little bit about the voiceover community, the world of voiceover.
Yeah. Okay. So how I got into it, I am what they call a typical COVID story when it comes to voiceover, because I used to work at Expedia. I used to work at American Airlines, hotels.com. And I was, learning and development, manager, speaker, facilitator, and everything was going great, dude. Like, everything was going amazing. Got a job. Was offered a position at American Airlines for a kind of a specialized facilitator team for upper management, and also for like the first day new hires for literally every employee of American Airlines, whether you're a gate agent to the tower, to pilots, to flight attendants. Like, you all came through our program. And everything was great. Like, life was good. I was making the most money I ever made, and built this house. This is when I picked this house and built it from the ground up, designed it, bought my wife a new car. Like, everything was great. And then COVID happened. And of course, one of the industries that got hit the hardest was the airlines, because nobody's traveling, right? And I think they were losing like $1 billion a month with a B. Like, talk about hemorrhaging from the army.
Oh yeah.
And so, basically they had to downsize big time. And I kind of thought of my department as a very valuable resource, as in like a whole big old stack of Encyclopedia Britannica, like the whole A through Z. Like, you got all the information, you got the best stuff. And then I thought of the scenario of that movie Mission to Mars. No, Mission to Mars, the one with where he has to fly off the planet, but they have to like drop all the weight, or he's not going to make it out of the atmosphere. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, they need to survive, so they can't fire the pilots. They can't fire the maintenance guys that they have to do continuous maintenance on these airplanes, even though they're not being flown. Like, we need to lose that heavy ass set of Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, it's got to go. And so that's what happened. And it was crazy because the Friday, so I had a class Thursday and Friday. It was called Lead the Experience, and one of the directors of uh, I won't say who he is, but one of the directors for a very important part of the airplane classes came up to me after, and he's like, "Hey Charles," he's like, that was a fantastic class. I wish I'd taken this like 10 years ago. This was really good information. And he's like, and you have a really good way of like telling stories and engaging people and really kind of like locking us in. He's like, have you ever thought of VO work? And I had no idea what VO, like what he was talking about. And if you work in the airline industry, you know that it's like acronym city. They use acronyms for everything. And so I thought he was talking about velocity operations. I didn't know what it was, right? And I was like, velocity operations? And he's like, no, like voiceover. And still I didn't know what voiceover was. And then I was like thinking to myself, like, oh, like the announcements that you hear over when you're in the cabin, right? And he's like, no,
Yeah.
like voiceovers for commercials, animations, things like that. And I was like, no, I never thought of that before. I didn't even know what voiceover was. And so, end of the class, Saturday, literally the next day, we get an email from the company and says, hey, this COVID thing is getting like a little crazy. So everybody that's, comes into the office, like that has an office job, like just stay home, right? Like don't come into the office.
Yeah.
And the problem with my department was everything we did was face-to-face training.
Mhm.
So if we had a lead the experience class and it was for CEOs, or let's say executive managers of cargo, or from gate for gate agents at their airport. Well, every single airport that we have, every location, we fly them in to do the training, because it's like, hey, we don't want web-based. This is we need something more like a captive audience. We want a
Sure.
face-to-face training, right? We don't want to do it. So we had no e-learnings. My team had no web-based trainings. We had nothing to work on. So every day we get on.
And you worked out of the corporate office out here in Dallas, right? Or in Irving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've seen that training facility, just the campus itself.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. It's definitely a place made for face-to-face training.
Yeah, it's massive. And so they were like, okay, well, we'll just jump on a call every day to see if we're still alive because of this crazy COVID thing. And that's what we do. Jump on a call at, whatever time every day. Hey, how's everybody doing? Okay, this is going on. Okay, just kind of supporting each other. And then, like, it was just weeks of nothing to do. And so I was like, well, let me look at this VO thing. And I started looking up voiceover on YouTube. And I started following some guys, and I'm kind of a techie nerd just like you. So I started looking into all the gear and, oh, this is cool and that, and started learning about, oh, this is a cardioid condenser microphone. This is just a USB. This is a shotgun. This is a XYZ. And I recorded some stuff, just recording stuff underneath a blanket, looking off my iPhone, and I listened back to that stuff and it was horrible. And then, then we got the notice. It's like, okay, we're going to have to let you guys go. And I was like, oh shit.
Via email. So the same way of, hey, go ahead and stay home.
Yeah. It was rough. I mean, we had a good manager, and he kind of got us on the phone. He's like, they're offering a first buyout. Like, hey, if anybody wants to take this offer, go for it. You're close to retiring. We're going to bump the retirement age up a little bit so you can still get your flight benefits and stuff. But I was still new. I'd only been there, a year and a half. And so it was like, well, and
you're also not close to retirement either.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm going to just stick it out, and see what happens. And then they came out with a second package. It didn't offer as much as the first, but they were like, hey, this is your opportunity. So take it, or hey, at some point you might be let go. And that's a really shitty feeling to be in, because you're like, am I valuable enough? You know,
Yeah.
they really need this, development, and in my mind, I'm trying to justify like why they should keep our team and why they should keep me. And it was like, okay, this thing's happening. They need strong leaders now.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna keep us, because now we're dealing with other kind of situations, and these managers and directors and whoever need to know like the best way to connect with their people, make them feel cared about, etc.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh snap, they're firing all the managers. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And
you know what's interesting is it reminds me of, like, so I did when I did my dissertation, I interviewed a lot of people at in the grocery retail industry, and one of the things that they mentioned, and it kind of goes to that focus of like, what do you have to cut, what do you release, whatever that is,
mm-hmm.
to make sure you survive. A lot of the people that I interviewed had said, we just got down to the nuts and bolts. Like, we stopped caring about the training. We stopped. It was like, hey, if we had an opening, we were going to just hire somebody and we'll show them what to do while they're doing it. And in episode 1, I mentioned, it might have been episode 2, I mentioned that there's this phrase of building the plane while flying, and it's, I guess it's relatable to to not only the actual planes and American Airlines, but it's interesting because you kind of get rid of the what we'll call fluff, or the things that help your kind of competitive advantage, or the things that help you get good or become better, or kind of your kind of product differentiators. And you just get down to the nuts and bolts. So I can see why, like, even mentally, you're like, hey, let's get better at having stronger managers that can lead through this thing, lead through change, lead through the challenges, because we don't understand COVID or know where it's supposed to go or how long it's going to be here. So we need better people. But they're like, nah, like, to your point, we just need a couple pilots and some maintenance guys. And that's it.
Yeah, like, we need to make sure we're going to get the rocket off the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, once we do that, then we can kind of figure out what's happening. But we got to get, and and that's great, but the chances, the percentage goes down and down and down when you leave these, like you said, kind of fluff things in.
Yeah.
And now the whole ship might not ever make it, and now we're going to crash the whole shebang. So I get that. But I like that phrase you said. What is it? Building while flying.
Yeah.
Because when I think about my story, it's kind of like that, because, I didn't have, so now, hey, your income, I only have 3 months of income left. They're going to let us go and then pay us for 3 months. And then I have Cobra for a year, which actually, Cobra's expensive, dude.
Oh, very. Yeah. I was on it too for a little bit at a point.
And so now I'm like applying for jobs. Nobody's hiring managers, right? And I'm getting down to the point where I'm like, okay, well, I could just pick up 3 part-time jobs. I'll go to Aldi's, I'll go to whatever, I'll stock things, I'll do whatever I need to. I was looking at stuff around my house to sell on eBay, like, just to keep the lights on. I was like, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to have to sell my wife's car. Like, it's like DEFCON 5, you know what I mean? Like, it's critical mass time. And I think it's that flying or building while you're flying thing, because I couldn't even afford a pop filter, right? Which is like $20. Like, I didn't have an extra $20 to buy a pop filter on your mic. And for those people listening who don't know what a pop filter is, it's a screen that goes in front of the microphones that stop the plosives and the popping P sounds. And so I got this. It was a 99-cent crochet ring.
Sock?
Dude, it's a 99-cent crochet ring from Goodwill, and it's an old Argyle dress sock that I stretched over the thing. And it works.
Do you still use it, or do you just keep it for kind of like it's?
Yeah, it's to show me like where I came from. I have a couple of things.
Are you gonna frame it? Are you gonna frame it? Just frame
probably.
It. Go to Michael's. Tell them, hey, I got this, and this. I need them in a framed box that sticks out no further than an inch and a half on my wall. And now that's legit.
Dude, that's crazy. It's literally a sock, dude. And it worked for 2 years. I used it for 2 years. And the crazy part is like I didn't have a booth. You want to buy a professional, like pre-made, pre-assembled booth, like you buy a Whisper Room or an Audio Bricks, and those things are like minimum like 5 to 10,000. You know, I didn't have that. But where did we live? We lived in a neighborhood that was being built, and our houses were, kind of the first ones. And so we had all these, houses being framed. And when they're framing houses, they're chopping off ends of, boards and something that maybe is not straight. And they're throwing them into a big trash pile in the front and, getting them thrown away. So the crazy part was I went to the construction trailer,
like
and I was like,
dump,
and I was like, hey, can I like get some of that trash wood that's out there? Like, there's nails in it and stuff, and there's cement all over it because they've walked all over it. And they're like, well, we can't tell you yes, because if you get hurt, then it's our liability. But if we come back in the morning and the trash pile's smaller, like, man, whatever. So that's this booth that I'm standing in now. Like, number one, it's an awesome booth because I got some audio engineers to help me do the schematics of the inside, what materials to use in the walls, this and that. And it sounds, it's like a pro grade level studio, but it was literally built out of trash. You know what I mean? But it's like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And it really helped me because it's like, you kind of feel like you kind of understand and get a realization of what you're made of. Like, how bad do you want this? How bad do you need this? What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to make happen to make this happen? And so that's what I did. And, over time, once I started making some money, I would reinvest that money into better equipment, better mics, better computers, better everything. Right.
Yeah.
But like starting from there to, I've done national commercials for Hims, for Tony Lama boots, for, gosh, the list goes on and on and on. McLaren, NASCAR, Jiffy Lube. It goes on forever. Listerine. I just did one for Listerine. And now I have 5 agents. I have agents on in the West Coast, the East Coast, in the Central US, in Canada. I have coaches. I have like 5 coaches.
Yeah.
And, it's all an investment. It's all and that's the thing. It's like, if I didn't reinvest the money that I made into coaching, into conferences, into making connections, into, workshops, things like that, sure, I'd have way more money than I have now, but I wouldn't be where I'm at, and I wouldn't be at the growth that I'm at without looking at that as an investment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think the most recent one I saw you do was Candy Crush. I think you had a Candy Crush ad that hit. But it's interesting because I remember when we would be hanging outside, you always had, look at this one. I did this game. I'm doing this game. I'm auditioning for this one. And then I think at the beginning of this year, I saw your kind of all of the brands that you've done something for. And I was like, man, I didn't realize your portfolio has grown to that, to like, these national brands where, you hear the commercial or you see it. I think you had one that played during the Super Bowl too. And it might have been I think it was the Super Bowl. And
no. It was the playoff game. It was
that's what it was.
It was for stamps.com. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And so it's always funny because I was showing somebody at work my neighborhood on it was actually my vice president. I was showing her my neighborhood. I don't know how we ended up talking about houses, but I went on Google and search up my address, said, yep, this is my house. And I was like, this guy works here. This guy works here. I was like, remember that voiceover guy? He lives here. And she's like, oh, you're really neighbors. I was like, yeah, like we walk out and exchange, we exchange sugar. Like, it's like, we call each other for limes and stuff. So it was, no, it's great to see that you've kind of sprouted. I always tell my wife, I'm like, Charles is going to be rich soon. He's just going to leave the neighborhood. But I said, but knowing who Charles is, he'll be humble and he'll stay here, but we'll have a millionaire living in the neighborhood and we wouldn't even know it. I mean, heck, we got, I won't say his name, but we got our neighbor that lives next to us that has the Rolls Royce Ghost in his garage.
Yeah.
So he's doing pretty well for himself. So
yeah.
that's good. So from a VO perspective, is there anything that, like, if you had to give advice for somebody who wanted to get started in voiceovers, like what would you give them? What would you say? Like maybe 2 to 3 things that, hey, you have to hone your skills on X, Y, and Z. What would those be? And what are some things you would tell them stay away from?
Gotcha. I think now that I look back, one of the most important things is coaching. And when I first started, I didn't coach with anybody because I was like, my own personal brand is I can talk to anyone, anywhere about anything, right? I'm like the guy everybody knows, the guy that can talk to anybody in an elevator, and because that my gift of gab has gotten me far in life, like back in the day when your interview used to be a face-to-face interview, when you first would apply to someplace, I'm like, all they need to do is meet me. I'm in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And now it's like, you can't even, it's so gatekeep, like you can't even ever get past the first, step. And that was where I kind of went wrong because I struggled. I wouldn't necessarily say struggled. Well, yeah, I struggled. But my growth could have been much quicker if I had coached sooner. And once I started coaching, dude, it was like boom, 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 boom. Like just stuff started happening because I go in with a certain amount of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're starting out in something, like, you kind of you need it for yourself, for other people to be like, oh, that's cool, right? And that was probably, some of it when I was talking to you guys when I first started, like, oh, check this out. And when you guys listen to it, maybe it's just an audition or something that I sent out and you're like, oh man, that's really good. And one of my coaches told me, he's like, okay, here's the difference. You can send something to family and friends that know you, that hear you, that know your personality, this and that. And then they hear this thing that's not you, right? They hear your voice in a booth through a microphone. It's all edited, clean, and it doesn't sound like you, and it sounds amazing to them, right? And he's like, and he goes, that's just like showing a magician or showing somebody on the street a card trick, right? And you're just like wowing them. They're like, whoa, that's crazy. That's so amazing. Now show that same card trick to a professional magician. And sure, you did the trick right, but that magician could be like, that was good, but I'm going to tell you how to do this so you will blow people's minds. You know what I mean? So that's really, that's the kind of difference it is. And when I first started, man, I was eating my own lunch, man. I was crack hoeing my rates out there because I was, I needed money, right? And so I remember one of my coaches was like, why are you stepping over $100 bills to pick up quarters?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. And I was like, and he's like, tell me one of the spots you did when you first started. And I was like, my first kind of big spot was Peloton. I got it through a third party production company, and they did it. And I was like, and he's like, how much did you make off of that? And I was like, I think I made like $675 off of it. And he was like, now, granted, at the time, that was a big chunk of money that you probably needed. And I was like, 100%. And he goes, do you know that like if he used it for, let's say, like national TV broadcast, pre-roll on YouTube videos, pre-roll for Facebook, maybe OTT over the top, like on Hulu or something like that. He goes, that could have been like a $30,000 to $40,000 job. And I was like, that's crazy. Like it was, my mouth was like, pick up, jaw off floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting you say, I just looked up Peloton's revenue. Obviously stocks are down for everyone today, but they're almost a $700 million company. So you like, they 0.0001% of you. Like, here you go. Here's just, he'll do it for this much. Man, this sounds great. Here's a squirt. A little squirt.
And, and that's the thing. Like, I'm never going to tell somebody how to do something or not to do something if they need the money to keep the lights on, feed their family,
Sure.
whatever. Right. But at a certain point in my journey and everybody's journey, you need to make a shift, a mind shift of, okay, it's okay to lose this. It's okay to not get this job or this, this TV spot or whatever, because there's going to be more down the line. And I know what I'm worth. Like, you have to know your worth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna make it a little worse for you really quick. I read that wrong. That was Q4. They're 2.1 billion. Sorry.
That's nuts, man. Okay, so I actually turned down the spot for Coco Melon.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for Coco Melon's dad.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm Korean, and they needed some like parts in there that were that he spoke some Korean to the kids.
Sure.
And he was going to be a reoccurring figure in the episodes. Dude, they're like I think they're in the number 3 biggest YouTube channel for children's videos and children's whatever on YouTube. They have like, I don't know how many millions of subscribers, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to pay me per episode. Like, I don't know if I'm not even allowed if I could say it over the thing, but let's just say it's peanuts, right?
Sure.
I shot them a number that was industry standard rates. And I even did it less than industry standard. And it was like per episode, they wanted to do like, 3 recordings a week. And I shot them a number and they're like, sorry, we're not going to do it. Because in their minds, they can get other people, like when I started, to do it for nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
and they have, as of March 2025, they have 198 billion with a B views, 191 million subscribers and 198 billion views. That's
nuts, dude.
Yeah.
And they were literally, it made the Peloton number look stupid. Like, it make it look like a joke compared to what they were wanting to pay me for that. And I'm like, you sons of bitches. But if I stuck with that bad feeling, I'd still be crusty about it. But I'm like, okay, hey, I shot my shot. They didn't take it. Hey, cool. Like, see you later. And it's out of my mind, dude. It's gone. And I just go on to the next thing. Because I remember when I first started, I would be like, yeah, man, I did like 4 auditions this week. And they were good. Like, I nailed them. And I wouldn't hear anything back from anybody. And I'm like, okay, well, like, why aren't they, writing me back? At least telling me, hey, thanks for trying. At least they could be courteous, because I'm coming out of an executive life and world. Like, that's what you do. You say, hey, thanks for applying, but we're going to, at this moment, we're going to go with, another candidate or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the coaches, or I talked to a casting director, and they're like, Charles, they're like, I get your feeling, I get what you're feeling. Like, this feeling of like, dude, at least you can give me the professional courtesy to tell me that I didn't get the spot.
Yeah.
But she's like, you have to understand, as a casting director, let's say I'm in charge of maybe six accounts, 6 commercials this week. She's like, I am getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions from voice actors, from agents, from agencies all across. And they're coming to me, and I have to pick 5. I have to listen to all those. I have to do my selects, and then I shortlist those into a final small group, maybe 5 to 10. I send them off to the client, and they come back with who they want. And she's like, there's not enough time in the universe for me to write everybody back and say, hey, you know what? I appreciate, you doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bam, 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 let's go. So in 1 week, they're looking at 7,000 auditions. You know what I mean? And then once she told me that, I was like, oh, okay.
I'm just a number.
I get it. But even the 4 auditions a week that I thought I was crushing, like, I told my coach that, and he's like, Charles, 4 auditions in a week. He's like, you should be shooting for like 20 a day. And I was like, 20 a day? There's no way I could do 20 a day. And now I do like 20 to 25 a day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because
well, I know, because there's times where I try to call you and there's no answer, and I'm like, he's in the booth. He's in the booth.
Yeah.
He's in the booth. It's well, we'll say AI will come and we'll say, hey, let's, maybe we do that. Maybe we create a system using AI that helps send out appreciation messages using
Yeah.
AI. Hey, they just click everybody who did make it forward, send an auto generated message. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And AI is, another big thing in our industry that, people are like, well, voice actors are going to be gone, when AI comes up. Here's the thing. For low hanging fruit, like when I started, that work that I did then is like pretty much all AI work now. Like,
Wow.
dude, when I started, I was doing like top 10 Bigfoot facts, like stupid stuff on YouTube. I was the voice of like 10 or 15 YouTube channels. And I would get paid like, $10, $15 to do a 1,500 word script, which runs about 6.5 to 7 minutes. And that's all the editing. I didn't know how to edit worth nothing. I was messing up. I was trying to redo everything and make it perfect and try my best. But I have to thank those times in my life when I started this journey because, dude, it is like it just conditioned me. Like I can edit like a ninja now. Like I'm so fast at editing. I use 2 keyboards when I edit, right? I got like hotkeys all set up.
I was going to ask if you had hotkeys set up.
Yeah. Like it's amazing now compared to what, when I started, but it really gave me the chops. It built my chops because I read thousands of scripts, thousands, and horribly written scripts, like horribly written. And now I get to work with like professional teams that have writers that have, you can see the vision in the script, those kinds of things. Sure. And it's crazy because, everybody's like, oh, well, AI is going to take over all the voice. Here's the thing. Let's say Pepsi, right? They have a creative director. They have production teams. They have, assistant creative directors. They have all these people thinking of these super clever ideas for commercials, how it's going to engage, who's going to do, and they're paying those people big salaries, right? Tell me. And they're paying for the ad time. Let's say they put it in a Super Bowl. I don't know how long a Super Bowl 30-second commercial is, right? But it's got to be up there, a couple million.
Yeah,
right?
Easily.
Right.
Easily.
So here's the thing. They are not going to put for the chance of saving, let's say $20,000, right? Of saving that to put an AI voice into this project that they have, millions of dollars wrapped up in. They're not going to do it. They are not going to do it.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of like and I've always said that AI is AI is useful. It's very useful, right? And we know that it's helping streamline things. We know that it's helping advance things. It may help things move a little bit quicker, but you still always have to have the human judgment and all the like in recruiting, right? In HR. We know that they say, hey, AI is out in the world. We know there's laws in like New York and California that say, hey, you can't use AI in hiring because of X. And with that, it's kind of that same mindset of you're still going to have human judgment. Help it augment your processes. Help it enhance and streamline things. Maybe you get rid of a couple buttons that need to be clicked, or you make those buttons a little more efficient, but you can't replace what the human mind does. And I don't care if you try to build neural networks and say that neural networks are intended to mimic the brain. You still have, because it's data in, right? It's only as good as the data that's coming in.
Yep.
A lot of creative people are doing things in the spur of the moment, right? Even if it's generative AI and you can say you give it a prompt and it generates something, it's still going to be fixed on patterns, right? Most of everything we do today, sure, there's research in marketing for like Pepsi and, what's the audience we want to reach and all this other stuff. But for the most part, I agree with you. I don't think it will eliminate the role of the actual voice actor.
And it's funny too, because I'd say a good handful of recordings and commercials that I do, they always ask for wild spots, right? So let's say there's a 30-second clip and a script, and I read through, we get all our takes, this and that, and they say, hey, you know what? Can you give me a couple wilds? And a wild is just like whatever I feel, right? And that AI will never have. It's that creative spontaneity, that creative, like I don't know what to call it, that creative mixture that just kind of
Yeah.
happens. The neurons fire, and it's something spontaneous that they don't think about. And a lot of the times they've taken that and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that. Like, that's perfect. Right. And
Nice.
that's why they hire professional voice actors. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like right now, I'm in an improv class in downtown,
Mm,
right? That I've been going to, and I have like six more weeks of it. And that is just an investment in me, because when scripts come through, sometimes they want ad libs, right? They want
yeah.
something
Yeah.
in there, and you can't just ad lib to ad lib. Like, as a voice actor, I understand what's happening in the script. I see what's going on. And now, oh, guess what? I can pour a little bit of sugar on top of that with these little ad libs in the middle. And they're just like, it's gold. That's gold. That's what we want. Like, you, man, I'm happy we hired you. And they
Nice.
can go through 100 simulations and 100 different voices and put in text. But guess what? That AI is just going to say that text. They're not going to have that feeling. They're not going to have that emotion. They're not going to have that wink and a smile. They can't hear a wink and a smile from AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
true.
and
Regardless of how much you train it.
yes,
Regardless of how much you train
regardless.
it. Because
And like,
I think I tried to do some training, and I and another person were working on something, and I had some I don't know how many recordings I had, but I tried to create an AI module that would take in a lot of voice to read. And I don't know if you remember when we were doing that. And re- it, I had thousands of clips of someone reading certain words to create a voice of somebody, and it was fixed. It was fixed. And granted,
mhm,
I'm not a this hardcore developer coder, but I was able to figure it out and layer in all of this and try to create a person out of this to read
mhm.
any prompt that I gave it, and it was still fixed even though I gave it the prompt. It's kind of like when you ask Siri something and Siri's like, I don't know how to answer that. It's like, well, you're
Mhm.
dumb,
Yeah.
because you should be creative, right? You should be
Right.
creative. But I get it. Siri's an analog input. Um, but there's no creativity, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
you can say, hey, Siri, sing me a song. She's gonna sing some basic song, right?
Mhm.
There's no creativity to it, and it's probably a song you may be familiar with or know. So no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
One of the things that my coaches, so I have little sticky notes everywhere in my booth.
Yeah.
And one of them is people are paying a voice actor for the three T's, right?
Mhm.
It's time. They're paying for time. They're paying for talent, and they're paying for, what is the third T? Time, talent, and I can't think of the other one. But there's the time that we're putting in. There's the talent that you're paying for, because we're paying for coaches, things like that. And one of the this is I've had this sticky note for 5 years, and he's like, write this down, put it in your booth, and think about it every time you read a script. He's like, emotion generates belief, right? Emotion generates belief, and you have to feel it, right? So right, so I have to feel it. If I feel it, then they feel it. They, as in the client or the audience listening,
Sure.
right? If they feel it, here's the key, then they believe you, right? And if they believe you, the chances of you being hired or the chances of that ad being successful grows exponentially.
Yeah.
So that's why it comes down to me looking at the script, bringing some kind of connection in my life to that script, right? To the emotion that they want to bring to looking at the words of the script. So it's like, hey, do they want this? What's the ad for? Okay. It's showing a sunrise, and it's showing like, some farmers working before sun up, and it's showing people shaking each other's hands, and they're drinking coffee as they're driving to a work site for construction or whatever, right? So thinking of that, I think to times when in my family, working, getting up and getting ready before the sun comes up. Thinking of my dad, thinking of my uncle that worked their butts off, and like I think of those people, and it gets me in a certain mood. right? And
Yeah.
when I lock into that emotion, I read that script as through my eyes, through my emotion. And then whenever it gets to the client, they're like, damn, that's exactly what we want.
And
Like that's going to hit the people right where we want them to hit them.
and that's kind of that's what AI can't do, right? A lot of people think that AI will become sentient, but like I just looked up the actual definition of sentient, and it says having the capacity to feel, perceive, or experience sensations, emotions, and awareness, encompassing the ability to respond to stimuli and have subjective experiences. When you wrap that in a bow and go off of what you were just saying, I don't think you can't create that. You can't create it. It's within you, right? It's going back to being, an ambivert versus being an extrovert versus an introvert. Like, though, that's in you. It's what you do and don't like to do. And if you can harness that and utilize what you do and don't like to do subjectively, then that gives you the ability to be different. And that's why, I guess from my perspective, that's why the voice actor as a professional creative individual is who you are, because that's where that uniqueness comes from, of that kind of sentient being of who you are. So
because
nice.
anybody can read anything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, you put some words on a thing and you read it. And honestly, when I first started and I listened back to that stuff, it's like, oh yeah, I'm totally just reading, trying to put on this thing, right? I'm not actually using emotion. I'm trying to force emotion through my voice into this thing. And it's totally fucking fake. Like, anybody could listen to it and be like, nah, he ain't sincere.
I'm just reading.
Like, right off the bat. And so this thing is called a Junto wheel. And it's from the Junto Institute, Junto. And basically it breaks down emotion, right? So like at a high level, if somebody says, I want you to read this with joy, right? So joy is very general, right? And maybe we'll try to be like, okay, I'm going to be joyful when I read this. But if you break down joy, the next level down is joy can range from euphoric, excited, optimistic, proud, cheerful, happy, content, peaceful, right? So now I'm like, okay, it's a cheerful, right? It's a cheerful kind of joy.
Yeah,
so that's the next level.
So every emotion has kind of like this, like a spectrum, if you will. And that even though joy is the word, wow.
So now let's go. Yeah, so let's go to a subset of joy is being optimistic, right? But it breaks it down from there also. So if you look down in optimistic, it can either be hopeful optimism or it could be eager optimism, right? So now I know that I need to read this in an eager way that shows optimism, which shows joy. So now
you have to determine. So, and it's almost understanding the spectrum itself. And I just looked up the Junto wheel. I'm going to share the link of the Junto Institute in the write up for this episode. But it's interesting how there's 6 kind of initial emotions, and then it just broadens out with this kind of color rainbow that says, hey, this is, love can go from sentimental to affectionate to compassionate and warm-hearted, enamored. And all of that's interesting, because if you can't tap into each of those, because those 6 initial, like just looking at this, those 6 initial kind of emotions branch out so far on this wheel that it if you think that anger is anger and not understand that there's hateful, exasperated, irritable, you can't really do a good job at displaying emotion.
Yep.
I love it.
Right? That's pretty dope, huh?
Yeah. I'm gonna get this and make my kids understand it.
Yeah.
By the Junto wheel.
Yeah, that's crazy, because like in anger, like you said, it could be a jealous kind of an anger. But what kind of jealousy is it? Is it resentful jealousy, or is it envious jealousy?
Yeah.
Right? Because you could be like, I'm jealous and I hate this guy. Or it could be, or it could be this jealousness that you're like, man, like I want to be like that guy, and why can't I be like that guy? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's super helpful, actually. It's a super, and guess what? I learned about this 2 years into my voice acting from a speaker at a conference, and he gave everybody one of these. And I've brought this Junto wheel up at one of my agency kind of collaboration meetings, like once a month, like, hey, let's talk about whatever. And I brought this up, and she gave this wheel to everybody because she's like, this is so important. Thank you for sharing this.
I need to see how prominent this is, because I mean I've been in leadership for a really long time and have never heard of the Junto wheel. I've heard of the color code. I've heard of your Gallup report. I've heard of the Harrison assessment. All these different things, but I've never heard of the Junto wheel.
Mm-hmm. Like
I may have to use
it's
this
a
at
really
work.
good way to like really understand and break down. It's like what are we talking about here? When you're
Mhm.
talking about when you're talking about surprise, what are you talking about? When you're talking about fear, what kind of, like, what is the fear? Are you just scared, or are you nervous? And if you're nervous, are you worried, or are you anxious? If you're scared, are you frightened, or is it because you're helpless? Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
So many levels.
I know.
There's levels to this.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
Yes, sir.
All right, Charles. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. Definitely appreciate you spending some time with me and kind of going over a little bit of who you are and shooting the shit with me at the beginning. One day I think I'm definitely going to bring you on. Again here in the near future, kind of chat about some other
Sure.
things, see how
Sure.
voiceover's going for you. But for the audience, just to kind of close it out, if you can close out the coldest side of the pillow for me in a way a voice actor would do it.
All right. Let me see. Do you have a script for me?
I don't, man. We'll let you do a wild.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Before I close out, if anybody ever wants to contact me, you can email me at charles@charlesthevoice.com. You can go to my website and kind of see what I'm all about and see the stuff that I've done. It's www.charlesthevoice.com. So in saying
I'm gonna
that,
place it in the write up. Place it in the
okay,
write up.
right on.
All right.
In
Go
saying
ahead.
that, today we want to close this episode by saying thanks for joining us at the cold side of the pillow, where we talk about kind of about anything and everything. We'll tune in next time, and we'll catch you on the other cold side of the pillow.